Let's move on to the second topic. And the second topic today comes to us from Brennan Marshall, who writes, I'll admit I've been slow to warm up to the idea of a standalone Joker movie outside the DCEU, but man, I just read that both Zazie Beetz and Robert De Niro are lining up to be in the movie too. Okay, you've got my attention. My question is, do you think the addition of actors like these point to Warner Brothers having bigger goals for this film than just a good comic book film? Could they be looking at this as an, whispers, Oscar contender? All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, Brennan. Yes, first of all, you guys know I've been excited. I am excited about this Joker idea. Because to me, some of the best comic stories I've ever read were Elseworld stories. Stories that took place outside of the regular continuity of the comic books. Some of the greatest comic book stories ever written are these Elseworld stories. So why not try doing that with the movie universe? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Okay, but why not try? Why not give it a shot and see what happens? Then you get a very good director on board. Then you get a very good actor in the lead, like one of this generation's most celebrated actors in Joaquin Phoenix. You know, you've had, right from the get-go, you've had Martin Scorsese involved. How much or how little is up for debate, but then we hear Robert De Niro. And I remember talking on my show a while ago saying, hey, you know, with Martin Scorsese's involvement, I wouldn't be all that surprised if we got a Robert De Niro involved at some point. And here we are. It sounds like Robert De Niro is in talks to play a role. Now, he wouldn't play the Joker. From what I was reading, he's not going to play. The idea of it, at least according to the reports, is not going to play his dad or anything like that. So we're going to see about that. The other interesting name here is Zazie Beetz. I am a big fan of Atlanta. Granted, I wasn't as big of a fan of season 2 as I was of season 1, but still, I'm a big fan of Atlanta. And she's great in Atlanta. She was great as Domino in Deadpool 2. So, and now she's also got a role in this upcoming Natalie Portman movie called Pale Blue Dot, which looks fascinating. And she's going to be playing in that opposite Jon Hamm, which I'm really looking forward to seeing her in. I think that's going to tell us a lot about the overall acting chops of Zazie Beetz when she's in that movie. Because when you're performing across from Natalie Portman and Jon Hamm and actors of that caliber, we're going to see what you're made of. You know, but I've liked her very much in Atlanta. I liked her a lot in Deadpool. And I think the idea of her bringing her on board for something like a Joker movie like this is great. Now, of course, they announced over, you know, while Comic-Con was going on, it's actually got an October 2019 release date. We're just a little over a year away from this movie coming out. I mean, it's crazy to think about it in those terms, but I guess they have a lot of work done already. Look, if they come out and say Robert De Niro and Zazie Beetz is in this, does this point that Warner Brothers isn't just looking at this movie as a good comic book movie, but that they could be looking at it as an Oscar kind of movie? Maybe. I mean, you get in the director of War Dogs, you bring in Joaquin Phoenix, you bring in Zazie Beetz and Robert De Niro. Not that every movie Robert De Niro appears in is gold by any stretch of the imaginations, but still, could it point that Warner Brothers actually has ridiculous confidence in this project? Does Warner Brothers actually look at this script and say, you know what, we think this is something that transcends the comic book genre. We think this is like an Oscar season kind of movie. And by releasing in October, you're getting kind of close to Oscar season. It might. I mean, I don't want us to get too far ahead of ourselves. Right now, it's still a concept. We know they've got a good movie pulling together. They've got a great lead actor. If Robert De Niro and Zazie Beetz do indeed sign on, that's good stuff as well. And who knows? Maybe it does point that Warner Brothers has just that level of anticipation and that level of belief and that level of confidence in this project that maybe they're looking at it as, you know what? We think this is a comic book film that can get Oscar buzz. Maybe that's what they're thinking. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're not even thinking that. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I believe the possibility is there. All right, let's move on now to the next topic.